Good?
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go. Here's
Right.
open.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. This is Megan.
Oh, right in the moment I'm drinking a drink.
Well, sorry. You said you were ready. Swallow.
Yep, there you go.
Okay. Hi, everyone. This is Megan.
And this is Steven.
And this is the Synchrony podcast where we talk about transforming apostolic dating culture and ending loneliness in the church. We're sitting on the same side of the room today.
We are.
We get to be so close to you.
I know.
Don't do anything embarrassing.
No promises.
That's true. We are here with some friends.
That's right.
So you guys don't have to listen to us talk the whole time, which is great. We are here with the amazing and wonderful Stephanie and Kevin Quinones, who are our, what do we call you guys now? What's your title?
You know, youth and hyphen pastors, I guess.
Yeah.
Youth pasters, hyphen directors.
Everything.
If you could just do an option for other, I
Yeah.
feel like that's us.
Youth leadership, Swiss Army knives, basically. And we've gone to church together for like, I guess, when did we get back to Gainesville? Because you guys were already here when we came back.
We moved here We moved here August of 2020.
Cool. Okay. So 6 years.
Yeah.
Easy. I did math there. See? Yay. Yeah, but I feel, and we known you, I mean, I'd gotten to hang out with you guys a little bit before that at like camps and stuff. So we have our amazing friends here tonight to talk about dating and youth leadership and how to kind of think about that in that space. We haven't scripted this or come up with a ton of topics. So
I mean, most of our listeners know nothing we have is scripted, so.
Yeah, so we're just going to hang out and see what comes out of it. But I was hoping that before, to kind of kick it off, I was wondering if you guys could tell us your dating story. How long have you been married, and when were you dating?
Okay. So, first of all, thanks for having us.
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad to be here. I told Steven earlier, I feel like I'm on a movie set because like we've seen the podcast and we've seen the set and now we're here.
Now it's like behind the scenes
And
Disney.
now you've seen all the dirt.
You get to see all, you've seen all the dust bunnies in the corners that we've like slept under the chairs.
Not as many dust bunnies as you would think.
Yay.
So,
There's a reason
Great.
why I had to take a shower of all the way up until right when you got here, because
Yeah.
I was actually cleaning is really
That's
what it
fair.
was.
Yeah, if you guys could come over once a week so that we could panic clean our entire studio, that would be awesome.
Deal.
Yeah.
So we've been married going on 13 years. We're actually celebrating 13 years in a couple weeks.
Oh, happy anniversary.
July 27th. And before that, we dated for 2.5 years. So we've been together for a hot minute.
Nice. I don't want to put anyone's age out there, but how old were you guys when you met? Like,
So technically we were 13 when we met. So we both our families relocated to Florida in 2003. So that kind of makes us really old.
I was trying to find a way to ask that question that wouldn't like stick a
give
year
our-
on it, but I couldn't figure it out. So I set you up for that one. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. But we were 13, but we didn't date until we were hyphen.
Yeah.
We just kind of were around each other in youth group and growing up and things like that.
So you guys were at the same church.
We came up in the same church. And so I have an apostolic background. We were not part of the UPC. We were independent apostolic. And when we moved to Florida in 2003, I came from New Jersey. She came from technically California by way of Texas.
Yeah.
And so we met each other when we started going to church at the same church in 2003.
Cool.
And so we've known each other since we were 13. But like she said, we didn't start dating until we were 20, 21.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who asked who out?
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because I definitely asked her, but it was very, we started like hanging out a lot because we served on the same youth team together. And just doing ministry together brought us close together. We'd known each other for a really long time. My brother actually married her best friend at the time several years before that.
Were you guys both in that wedding? Like,
Yeah.
on different sides of the level?
She was the maid of honor.
Yeah.
And I was the best man.
Oh,
Nice.
man.
And then,
did you catch the...
No.
Did you
I
catch
don't
the
think so.
bouquet?
I don't
No,
know. You'll
I
have
don't-
to refresh my memory on
I
that.
don't think they
I
did
don't know.
that, but we both were dating different people because we were like high school at
Oh,
that
yeah,
point.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, and then when we got married, my brother was my best man,
Nice.
and Amanda was her maid of honor.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Very
Jinx.
cool.
So you guys, and I think that's one of the things we talk about a lot is we have a lot of mythology, I think, in the church about how people find each other. Like, you know, you see people like across the room at a conference and like your eyes lock and like angels sing and stuff. And, but a lot of people meet doing what you guys did and what we did, which was we were just working in the same field, you know, like, honestly, I guess that's how Ruth and Boaz met too, if we're going to get all biblical about it. But like, it's like we were just hanging out and you meet people that you're in proximity to and get to know them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a huge believer in just you work your way into new opportunities.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, I think a lot of people are waiting for things to come to them. And my biggest thing is like, we were just working, like we were just serving and just doing what God called us to do in the moment. And he opened up the door for us to kind of come together. And kind of funny story, we really got close at Rock the Universe. We were just talking
Really?
about that just a little bit ago.
If you're not from
one of our first like times being like
to hang out.
Oh, hey, I think I like you.
Was it on a specific ride? For those of you who don't know, if you're not from Florida, so the theme parks in Florida would sometimes host like Christian music festival nights or whatever. They would open the park at night. At least a Night of Joy was at night. I don't know if Rock the Universe was or if it was a daytime.
It was
thing.
kind of like an all day
thing
situation, but it was mostly all the main people were at night.
Yeah, yeah. Sure. You wanted to come for the headliners, like, you know, whoever it was. But yeah, they would have all Christian artists like music, and then all the churches. Like it was like the thing to do with the youth group. You would go, you know, like hang out socially. I do feel like that was a solid dating opportunity from back in the day because it's like it's public. But like you're also gonna have to sit beside someone on "It's a Small World" or whatever the Rock the Universe. Yeah.
Honestly, I don't think I rode a lot of roller coasters.
Really?
Yeah. I let fear stop me from doing a lot of things when I was younger. Now I'm like all for it. I'm like, let's, you know, you only live once, so let's go for it.
Yeah.
What's the Egypt ride at Universal?
Oh, the Mummy.
What is that? Was that what it was?
Probably. So I will say that one was the one that I would ride. It was indoors.
Oh yeah, air conditioning.
Very nice.
That's what you got to do.
But it deceived me because I didn't realize it was a roller coaster. So I'm standing in line thinking, you know, this is just one of those motion rides.
Yeah. It's going to be like the haunted house, but it actually was like, yeah, they sneak up on you that way. Okay, so Rock the Universe. And so I guess let's, not to make you like read off your resumes or whatever, but you guys have been involved in like a bunch of different facets of ministry in a bunch of different settings. And don't feel like you have to give us an exhaustive list, but like, can you kind of talk through what are sort of the main places that you guys have worked in together when it comes to ministry and the different spaces you kind of operated in?
Yeah. So when we were younger, like we helped in music. So he played, sing on the praise team, things like that. And then when he got back into church, like he was saying, we were asked to be a part of a youth team because we didn't have just one youth pastor. And so that's been probably our longest ministry that we've served in together.
For sure.
But we thought about, especially since we moved here and you guys helped us with Stark, we've served on a lot of like churches helping along with that.
Daughter work planting.
Yeah. So, and we come from a smaller church. You know, our Sunday attendance was in that like 75 to 100 range. And so we wore a lot of hats there. Praise team was one of them.
Where was your hometown?
St. Petersburg, Florida.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
I feel like that's kind of the typical church size. I mean, that's where a lot of like well-established but still cozy churches kind of live in that space. Yeah. Did you guys have a lot of people your age like in the same church? Because the fact that you guys had sort of found each other is cool.
It went in waves. Yeah. So there were times where there was a ton of people our age, and then there was times where everybody moved.
Went to college and did their thing.
We kind of felt like we were the only ones left, and you know, so it kind of goes in that, you know, the ebbs and flows of life, if you will. So when we started dating, I would say there was a pretty decent crew of people. Yeah. Maybe not specifically our age, but kind of maybe a little bit older, and then, you know, some that were younger as well.
Yeah.
So, at what point did you notice her first, or did you notice him first?
It's kind of different for us because we've just always been around each other. Like I said, like my brother married her best friend, and so my house was kind of always the hangout house.
Okay.
Everybody always just kind of came over to our house, and, you know, Sunday nights was just a bunch of people. So we've just always been around each other for a really long time.
Yeah.
So I think it wasn't until we started serving in youth ministry together that it was like, hey, I like you.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And
This
I
could
like
work.
being around you, and doing ministry together is fun. And
Yeah.
life is good when we're together. And
Well,
that's kind of where that came
The
from.
reason why I asked that is because we went to the same church for 4 years, and then right as she was about to move, is when I actually decided to get my common sense about me and actually try to pursue her. But she said that like she never even would have considered me because I thought she was older and she thought I was younger, because all my friends I hung out with were immature, and all the friends that she hung out with was
Grown ups. Yeah.
older than you.
Yeah. I tease him and I tell him that his jawline didn't develop until he turned 21, so he
Yeah,
looked like
she
a
said she
child.
didn't even recognize me until
Like I
my
thought he was
jawline
like
came in.
12, for a long time.
Yeah, so I thought she was ancient. So.
Yeah, and he wasn't wrong. Like in my core, I really am like 90.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a really cool story, because I think that like people are always like, where do I meet people? How do I find great people? And I think the answer ideally is you find them working. Like you know, right now, most of the people that I think are trying to date, if they don't have someone in their local church, they're trying to date online. And nothing against that, because we got to use what we have available to us, and it does connect people. But it's such a challenge because, one, you can find people attractive when you're working alongside them in ways that you wouldn't have noticed, scrolling. So you guys, having worked especially like in youth and young adult ministry for as many years as you have, and in as many different like church settings as you have, I imagine you've seen a lot of younger people kind of making that transition into adulthood and starting to look for someone. And I imagine you've probably been in a position where people are coming to you for advice or coming to you to ask, like, how do I do this? What have you, I guess, learned in the course of having to coach young people through that really murky and challenging process that we don't teach people how to do very effectively?
Man, where do we start?
Yeah.
It's such a loaded question. It's a great question. It's a valid question. I have so many opinions on this.
Yeah. Give us the most controversial ones. Just kidding.
This is how you keep your job.
All right, ready, set, go.
We text him, Pastor Tony, be like, you will not believe what Kevin said in this interview.
No, I think, I did a series a few years ago with our Hyphen here, and we just kind of challenged the dating culture in the world today, church and world.
Yeah.
And what I felt like God was dealing with me about in that time was really that our dating culture is not really where we're practicing dating, we're practicing divorce. Ooh. And what we're doing is we're going from relationship to relationship. And we're looking for, does this relationship work for me? Can I get something out of it? And the moment that it stops working for me, we cancel that and we move on. And that's not even just in dating relationships. A lot of times it's in friendships.
Yeah.
It's in work relationships. We're seeing a lot less loyalty and faithfulness to jobs, careers, to ideas and decisions of like, I want to be this, but now I want to be this, and now I want to be that. And so like we've learned really well how to move from place to place. And so commitment is a big challenge for our culture today. And so when we taught that series, we kind of just challenged that idea of, rather than practicing divorce, let's date with intentionality. Let's do relationships on purpose, and let's try to do them well. And a lot of that starts with challenging yourself and realizing that if you're going to be good at relationships, you've got to be good at relationships, not waiting for the other person to be good at relationships so that it benefits you, if that makes sense. And so I think that's kind of one of the biggest things that we've started to learn over the course of the last few years. And again, I know the times are really different. Online dating is very prevalent. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think a lot of times it lends itself to everything coming to you, as opposed to you having to go out into the field like we were just talking about.
That's the thing with the point that you just made about like dating with the mindset of divorce, right? if you think about that with online dating, if you're dating with a selfish mindset, if you're looking for someone with a selfish mindset, I don't want to say it's doomed to fail, but especially with online dating, there's no way to know someone's true character in the first 2 months of knowing someone online. And it's hard to be able to like filter out if someone's truly dating with selfless / curiosity or what can I get out of this?
Yeah.
And it's dangerous. So you're right. There is nothing inherently dangerous about dating online or using an app. But if it's with a wrong mindset, then that's where the danger comes in.
Yeah. And what was kind of interesting when we brought it to light and had those conversations was there was some secret relationships we had no idea was happening.
Yeah.
And so it was like God was bringing that to light. And that's such a dangerous thing when relationships are in secret.
Yeah.
Why do people in the church want to keep their relationships a secret? Like, we all intuitively know that they do that.
Yeah.
Where did that pressure come from in our culture?
Well, some of it was they were dating people outside the church.
Okay.
And I would kind of speak to like, because there was a period of time, like even though we knew each other since we were 13, there was a period of time he wasn't in church.
Yeah.
And so
I could see that.
yeah.
I have scars.
Yeah. But during that season too, and there's some things that I've told like the young girls is like there's lies that the devil puts in your mind.
Yeah.
And it doesn't come as like you hear the cliche like everybody's doing it, but it like points to certain people that you know, and you see them on Facebook or you see like a friend of like they have the best life ever, they're doing all these things, and you in your mind you're like, oh my gosh, like when is this ever going to happen for me type of thing. But serving in the church was like super helpful. One is to kind of know my own purpose and my own call.
Yeah.
And that kind of helped, like when he came along, like we were serving together. We had a purpose together there. But like with the secret is like, I know some of the relationships was they got desperate, and it was not the person. They didn't see anybody in the church, nobody close to their age. They had like a certain like this is how it's supposed to happen because it happened for this person.
Yeah.
So I know that was like a big part of why some of those relationships came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is because people also want the fairy tale.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've been sold this storyline of what love should look like.
Yeah.
And we get complacent sometimes in our calling, in our purpose, and we're just like, wait, this isn't the storyline that I had written out. We've been practicing what this should look like since I was a child. And so, the moment that it stops going that way, we start trying to put pieces in place, you know what I mean? And, she mentioned purpose earlier. I feel like that's one of the biggest things where we feel like we're incomplete until we have a partner. And
Because marriage is a rite of passage in our culture where you're not a grown up until you've gotten there.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you look, Adam was complete before Eve.
Right.
God had to actually take something from Adam in order to give him Eve, you know. And so and before he gave him a partner, he gave him purpose. And so he put him in the garden and he said, tend to this garden. This is your responsibility. This is your purpose. This is what I've created you for. Do this. And after he did that, God looked at him and he said, all right, he's done his purpose, and it's not good for him to be alone for the rest of his life. Now that he's living in purpose, I can give him a partner. But again, Adam was complete before Eve ever came along.
Yeah.
God didn't look at Adam and say, I think I missed something. He looked at Adam and he said, it's just not good for him to be alone. I made him in my image, but it's not good for him to be alone. So let me give him a partner to go along with this.
That's beautiful.
Oh, sorry. I'm trying my best not to like rabbit trail like 17 different times. So
Yeah. I'll just edit you out if I need to.
I'm used to it. It's okay.
It's good though. I think what you said a minute ago about like, so the stories we tell ourselves about how it's supposed to happen. We even sometimes in the church will spiritualize that sort of soulmate myth, right? Like a lot of the things that we battle when we're talking to people is like this idea that God has only created one person for you. And if these conditions are met, right, then that's got to be the person. If my pastor gives us a thumbs up and if he shows up on the 7th day of the 7th month and like if all the stars align and everything, then this person must be it. And we're desperate, I think a lot of times as young people, because we're still kind of seeking out the direction for where we're going, and we're figuring ourselves out and who we are at the same time that we're trying to pick someone to, potentially to like, you're okay. At the same time that we're trying to pick someone to be with for the rest of our lives, we don't even know what the rest of our lives look like all the time. Yeah. So while people are trying to figure themselves out, they're also trying to find their partner, and we want so badly to know we're making the right choice as young people, and we will impose every kind of sign on that. Like, how do you, as a young person, when you don't know what your purpose is, how do you know that you're discerning the right things? How do you know that you're hearing the right voices? Like how do you clear out the noise? Just solve that problem.
Yeah. So I don't have the answers to life's questions.
Yeah.
But the biggest the biggest thing is we have to be content in our relationship with God.
Yeah.
And I feel like, long suffering is still a fruit of the Spirit.
Mm.
Yeah.
And we're so, I don't mean for this to sound super harsh, but we're not really good at cultivating that particular fruit.
Yeah.
No, especially not in America.
Yeah. Yeah. We have gotten so used to everything just being instantly ready for us. And the truth of the matter is the best things usually take time. And that's hard for a lot of people to hear.
Yeah.
That's really hard for people it's hard to live.
Yeah.
And even us, we're old now, and I say that jokingly, but we're getting up there in age, and there's times where we look at each other and like, man, we're finally at this point.
Yeah.
And then there's other things that we look at and we're like, wait, we're not ready for that yet. But the reality is, when we look back through the course of our life, we can pinpoint exactly where God had a hand in orchestrating this or moving us from here to there and putting us in this position and putting us in that position and being able to recognize and say, man, I'm so glad it didn't happen when we wanted it to happen.
Yeah.
But that God made us wait the extra 5 days, 6 months, 2 years, whatever the timeline looks like. But there's so many more times that we can look back and really recognize that and say, man, I'm glad it didn't happen when we wanted it to happen or thought it should happen and thought, hey, if we finagle it or if we force it, we can make it happen now. But I'm so glad we waited until God said it was time.
Yeah. Can I put you guys in the hot seat on that for a second with a question? So I think there's a subset of people listening to this where that will resonate for them because they're in that seeking process of like, I'm an early 20-something. I'm still in school. I'm like, I don't know which way is up. I'm at church 1,000 times a week and I don't know where I'm called to be. Yeah. And then there's a subset of people listening to us, I think, who have been honing in on that purpose for 10 or 15 or 20 years and still feel like they're stuck. And we're roughly the same age-ish. So like I can think of like the people that we grew up going to church with and going to camp with and like that kind of generation, and what percentage of us kind of graduated into marriage and family. And then there's a whole subset of people who didn't, right? Who I think are forced to suffer long in some degrees in our culture. How do we reconcile, and this is a question that's too big for us to answer here, but let's just spitball.
Sure.
How do we reconcile this injunction to wait on the Lord and to trust in his timing against the fact that like, man, it's hard out there to find good people? Like, I think that's a tension that like people in their 20s and 30s don't, like, we don't know how to navigate that, because we got to do both, but like, where's the line, That was a big question. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
That is a big question because like and I jokingly said like other earlier because I never had like a light bulb moment or like the like God's like this is the ministry that you're gonna serve in. It was just willing to serve, and like we still clean toilets and do all of that stuff too. Like we're not above any of those things. So like the graduation to like relationships and things like that.
Yeah.
Man, it's hard to say.
Yeah,
it's like hard to.
I think what we're trying to get at there is it doesn't exempt you from still having to serve.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, and so just because it just adds to the serving.
Yeah.
You know, because now you have a partner to serve, and then you have children to serve.
Yeah.
And then your primary responsibility is still to be a saint. You know, and I think we do this in ministry too, where we feel like we get to this place where we have a position in the church. And now that I'm at this position in the church, and it's like, no, that's not the way that works.
Yeah.
You're now you just have more responsibility.
Yeah.
You know, and in the work career, in the professional career, it's like, man, I'm at this level in my career now, and you're busier than you've ever been, and you're doing more work than you've ever done, and things are more difficult than they've ever been. And so you never really get to this point where you graduate out of doing those simple things. When it comes to waiting on the Lord in those seasons, that term waiting is not a very stagnant term. And so, I think of, when you go to a restaurant and they're waiting on you, they're serving in that season. And so when you're waiting on the Lord, you're still serving in that season, and you're content doing what the Lord has called you to do in that season. Yeah. And if you're not content with that, then it's likely that you're not content in your relationship with God. And there has to be a time where you're able to look at God and have that honest conversation and say, God, I'm not content. Fix something in me. Show me something. And usually, and this is not a blanket formula, but usually when God starts fixing you, it's so that he can prepare you for the next season. And so when we get discontented, rather than trying to force our way out of that season, fix your way out of that season and ask God, what do you want to fix in me in this season so that I'm ready for the next season? And a lot of times we just spend that season complaining about the season that we're in and not doing the self-assessment and saying, God, what is it that you're trying to show me in this season so that I can move into that next season of life. And again, that doesn't always happen. It's not a blanket formula.
No.
But a lot of times God is trying to rustle up the nest and try to push us out so that we're ready to handle the next season.
Yeah.
I promise I'm not always going to go back to sport analogies.
No, it's okay. That's feel like this is.
I love a good sport analogy.
I feel like this is the setting in which that's appropriate.
I know. I was like,
he's like, someone's gonna get it finally, because he'll start.
This is why I brought him here.
He'll start a sports analogy, and he'll just see my eyes just like.
And he's one of the few people that actually understands baseball analogies.
Yeah. So have fun, enjoy yourselves. Yeah, go for it.
But I can hear now a group of people listening to this saying, "Oh, great! Now you're telling me I'm broken." Right. And in the sense, and I'm like, this season cannot be about self-deprecation. It can't be about like, oh, how little I think of myself, Lord, fix me because I am broken and I can do nothing because of this brokenness. I look at that and go, what skills can I develop during this season that can help me strive to be closer to you? And I immediately go back to when your coach or your, like, whoever you're working with on your team sees a weakness or sees something that could be better. What happens is they say, hey, you're throwing this way. Try putting your weight here instead of here. They're not saying, hey, you're bad at throwing. They're saying you could throw better.
Yeah.
And so you're using that opportunity to say, oh, you know what? I could be like, oh man, I'm terrible at baseball. I'm going to walk off this field. Or you could say, hey, this is helping me strive closer to become a better teammate for the people around me.
Yeah.
And so, like, I love that. Well, and for the 3 people listening that listen, that
no, but that's 100% correct, right? Show me a professional athlete that doesn't practice or doesn't train or doesn't constantly try to improve. And going to the baseball analogy, you look at major league pitchers. Yeah. How many times are they adding a new pitch or finding a different way of holding their two-seam fastball. And you know, if they hold it a certain way, it's going to get, you know, a few more RPMs, and it's, you know, it's going to move just that much more. Or they're trying to get more velocity. It's like, you're already in the pros. Why are you trying? Well, because I'm trying to better myself in this craft. And so going back to what you said, it's not that we're broken. I mean, all of us are broken in some capacity,
Absolutely.
right?
We've all achieved perfection.
Yeah.
Right.
and even Paul says that, right?
Yeah.
Not that I have achieved this perfection,
Right.
Yeah.
but I'm striving towards this perfection. And so, you know, in ministry, we're always learning. And, you know, we've been in youth ministry for 16 years now, and we don't have all the answers still, you know, and we haven't graduated to this level of, we just know exactly how to handle every situation. You know, we run into new things all the time because life is always changing and moving. And so if we're not trying to be better as youth pastors, then we're doing a disservice not only to ourselves, but especially to the people who are around us.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so as a person, if I'm not trying to better myself as a husband, I'm doing myself a disservice. But more than that, I'm doing her a disservice. I'm doing my children a disservice. And if I'm not constantly praying and asking God, how can I be a better husband? How can I be a better example for my son? How can I be a better example of what my daughter should look for when she's ready to look for in 40 years when that time comes? You know, if I'm not constantly
don't
working.
say that for the king. She'll be knocking on my door. Like,
I hear you're a matchmaker.
Yeah, well,
my dad just let me out of the basement.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Florida doesn't have basements. So it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I just want to say that because we've said this in like when we talked about relationships at the church, but I just want to put it out there. Is like, marriage is not a reward for doing something
so
good, and singleness is not a punishment. Like, so
for doing something wrong.
Yeah, for doing something wrong, and so
That's right.
when you're going through those long sufferings or those like, God, why? Like, it's so helpful, and I think because I've gotten older. When I was younger, I would like completely blanket over. It's like, okay, I want this season to be over. Like, how much longer? Like, skip over improving like my skills or whatever is going on, or who in this season are you trying to like help me connect with?
Right.
And even now, and you know, now that our kids are, Ella's 10, almost 11, just kind of pausing and like, how do I want her to remember these experiences? And when she looks back, and how can I have a better relationship with her and people? And like we talked about earlier, is winning with relationships. It's not just with that significant other, but people around you is really important to consider. I
think that's such a good point. And because I think we do, because culturally, not biblically, but culturally, we see marriage as like a step into adulthood, and it is a change in your sort of like social status, and that's not a bad thing, but we do associate it with like a promotion or with like a reward. And I was thinking, as you guys were talking about the baseball analogy, like an all-powerful God can find a way to work out things in me through marriage, or if that hadn't happened, he would have found a way to work those things out in me through ministry and service and singleness. It might be the same skill that he's trying to build, but in his infinite capacity, he can find ways to do that regardless of my status in life and in society. You can learn how to, you can hone your arm in the outfield, you can hone your arm at first base, right? It's going to be a slightly different context, but it's going to he's going to find ways to help you operate in that skill regardless of where you are. I do think marriage has some unique components and characteristics to it that he uses because of how it mirrors our relationship with him. I think it's got obviously potential for you parenting, which if that doesn't teach you about the patience of God, like nothing will. But I do think that singles really struggle because culturally we sometimes make them unintentionally feel like until you are married, you are not a full Christian or a full saint or a fully operating person. And there's no biblical context for that. Paul's like, I wish you all could be like me, but it's cool that you're not. We need all kinds, and God's working through each of those contexts to like shape us.
Yeah. It's hard. And the thing is everything that's being said is 100% true, but then there's the culture of the church that doesn't, this is the the part that it makes it difficult is there's a lot of ministries that cannot, I don't say can't, but usually don't let people be over ministries unless they're married.
I'm going to reframe your phrasing there. I think there are ministries that lend themselves to having married couples operate in them, and that we've become used to avoid throwing anybody under the bus. But I think there is a cultural idea that, like, I mean, ideally, it's great when we have a married couple as youth leaders or as pastors.
No, I know. But what I'm saying is there's people who feel stifled in their ministry or in missions, where they can't go to the next step of what they feel called to do because they don't have a ring on their finger.
Right.
And so that's the difficult for the people who are especially extended singleness.
Yeah.
I think that could be a challenge for sure. And I certainly don't disagree with that. But I do also want to challenge that thought process because I don't feel like, if anything, I think a majority of the time people are self-imposing some of those limitations because I won't pursue, this calling until I've achieved the ultimate goal of, being married.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we're stopping short of our purpose in waiting for that spouse.
Yeah.
And God is again saying, no, I've put everything in you that you need for this purpose.
Yeah.
Go and do what I've called you to do. Because the other side of it too is that we have to look at, why do you want to get married so bad? Right? And please don't take this the wrong way, and I'm talking to the audience here. Please don't crucify me for this.
Drop a comment. No, just kidding.
Brother Tony's watching.
But what is your reason for desiring it so much to where it's all that you can think about? And then really take that into consideration, because a lot of the times, and I've seen this, we've been involved in this area of ministry for a long time. A lot of the times, it's a selfish reason. And not that marriage in and of itself, it's a good thing to desire. Yeah. I'm so glad I'm married. I'm so glad I'm married to her
a lot
specifically.
Of us didn't get into it for the express reason of cultivating ministry, though. I think we have to be honest that, I think we all made good choices. Yeah. But I wasn't what will set me on the mountaintop? Yeah. When I was dating
exactly.
him.
And that's the thing that I think, I didn't marry her and say, I'm going to marry her because she's going to check all of these boxes on my list, and now I get to do A, B, and C.
Right.
It was, we're working in harmony or in synchrony, if we can use that pun. We'll
charge for a trademark, but
that's fine. That's fine. Put it on my tab. But because we worked so well together in harmony, it was easy to say we can work together and fulfill that purpose, and she complements my purpose and my calling, and I do the same for her purpose and her calling. And it wasn't this thing where it's I'm so desperate to get married, I have to find a spouse, and she was the closest thing to me, so that's just gonna have to do. It had nothing to do with that. We were working in ministry, we were serving in the kingdom, and we were doing what God called us to do. And then it was I looked over, and there she was, and it was no, this is great. This is who I want to do ministry with for the rest of my life. And that's kind of how it flowed into that state. And I think a lot of times people, going back to what I said earlier, we're waiting for the perfect thing to fall in our lap so that we can just get married, call it a day, and then at that point we'll figure out what purpose is. Yeah. Right. And we'll figure out what to do next, and we'll figure out, and then inevitably somebody's going to have to compromise their calling. Yes. Yeah. Somebody's going to have to sacrifice and not reach their fullest potential because you settled for what was convenient or what was quickest or what was just there and available for you, rather than being content in the season that God had you in. And again, I think that's part of the reason why a lot of people get pushed into a season of divorce, because they've operated beneath their potential because they married what was convenient or what somebody told them was the right person, or and so that kind of goes into the whole intentional friendship. I know that it's something you wanted to get into a little bit later, so we don't have to do that now.
No, we definitely want to unpack that. Yeah, I do want to get into intentional friendships and kind of talk about how we think about this from the perspective of kind of cultivating this within youth and young adults. I think the thing I want to kind of package up for people from this part of the conversation is like two things can be true, right?
Yeah.
You need to both allow God to work in the season that you're in and hone you in the season that you're in, and ardently seek after his mission for you in that season, because marriage isn't the goal. It can be a change in your context, but it's not the end goal of your life as a Christian.
Absolutely.
And it's not the capstone on it. If anything, it's just a ratcheting up into something new, but not necessarily something better or more powerful than where, you know what I mean? Like, it's a
I don't mean to cut you off, but that goes into what you were talking about with Paul when he said, I wish that you were all like me. Mm-hmm. His whole idea there was like, if you're single, you have less to worry about and you can just really serve God,
especially in a persecuted church where your spouse could get dragged off to the
absolutely you're not putting somebody else in danger. Mm-hmm. You're not putting anybody else's life on the line, and you can really give yourself fully and wholeheartedly to the one that we're supposed to give ourselves to fully and wholeheartedly to, which is the Lord. Mm-hmm. And so that was his primary reason for saying that was hey, our number one purpose on this earth is not to be married, but to be in covenant relationship with God. Mm. And so marriage can be part of that. There's no issue with that. That's why he's saying, like, it's cool if you want to get married. That's fine. Go ahead and do it. But our number one priority should be our relationship with God. Yeah. And a lot of times we establish these kind of patterns, habits, behaviors in preparation for marriage, and we get to a place where it's like, well, I just got married, so I need to take a step back from ministry, and I need to step away from doing this, and I need to step away from doing that. And it's like, well, did that benefit you in your relationship with God, or did it cause you to backslide? If we're just being brutally honest and calling it what it is. And so, like, when we got married, it wasn't we're stepping away from ministry. It was like, now we can pedal to the metal, go full on, and do what God called us to do. Yeah. And that's when it's the right thing.
Yeah, and I think that temptation to make marriage the end goal, I think, is why we end up seeing so many people leave the church for unholy relationships in that season. Like, we've talked a little bit about, and we don't have super hard data about this, but just like the stats that we see of young people, especially young men, who we tend to lose in that transition into adulthood. And I think some of that is especially in modern American culture, like, to have a partner, not even a spouse, but to have a sexual partner, to have a partner on your arm, is this kind of end cap to becoming an adult that isn't always immediately available to you when you're wholeheartedly serving God and you've got other stuff going on. So I do think we see the impact of that idea that siphons people off, and shifting the goal back to, like, hey, single or married, kingdom is the goal. Mm-hmm. Kingdom is the mission, I think is beautiful. So how do we do that? I guess that's like kind of the next thing is, like, we sat down with you guys and talked about kind of your outlook on effectively how to teach dating. Like,
sure.
And I think a lot of us that grew up in the church, like in the, we're dating in the early
dating goodbye.
I wasn't going to say it, but, like that kind of era of, like, early 2000s dating, where we were kind of like, we were trying to do courting, which none of us know what that means.
Yeah.
And
I still don't know what that means.
I still don't know what that means. It's very strange. It sounded like we should all be wearing, like, pinstriped seersucker suits and, like, promenading around somewhere. Or we were just kind of told, don't date and God will bring you someone, which didn't work for a lot of people.
Sure.
So how do we teach young people who want to get married eventually to date in a way that's not going to compromise their pursuit of that mission?
Sure. Yeah. So, I think those prior cultures of dating really left a lot of people unprepared.
Yeah.
Maybe not even unprepared, but uninformed.
Sure.
And, Scripture even says it, my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
And I know the context of scripture, and we're not going to break it down theologically.
We're not theologians, so we won't hold you over the fire for that one.
So allow me the liberty to kind of play with that for a second. But the idea behind intentional friendship for our group, and this is something that's so specific to our group, and I want to be abundantly clear about that. We're not trying to youth pastor everybody on the
this is
interwebs.
prescribing the nation.
But for our group, we just felt like we want them to win in relationships.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, we need to help them do that.
Yeah.
And so one thing that we need to learn is that accountability is a good thing.
Yes.
Yeah. And not in the sense of, let me put my thumb on you and make sure that you do what I say when I say it, blindly and without question.
Yeah.
But there's so much safety in accountability. And you don't have to go through your relationship looking over your shoulder, wondering am I doing this right, or what are the limits, or what are, and like all of those things can kind of dissipate when you have good, godly accountability. Mm-hmm. And so kind of one of the concepts that we teach is that you need to aspire to be somebody who, or you need to be accountable to somebody who you aspire to be like, not somebody that you're already like. And so like there's nothing wrong with peer accountability, but at the same time you've got to be able to look ahead and say, in 15 years, in 20 years, in 50 years, this is what I want my marriage to look like.
Yeah.
Let me find somebody who is living that out right now, and let me aspire to be like that. Let me attach myself to them and ask them questions. And so this whole intentional friendship thing was really just something that we said, all right, we're going to sit you down, and you're going to, you're going to come and say, hey, I'm really interested in so-and-so.
Like in the context of you guys being their youth pastors.
Right. In the context of us being their, at the time we were just doing Hyphen at that time. And so we're doing similar things for youth, a little bit different because I have some ideas about dating in youth, because I believe we should date to marry.
Yep.
Yes.
And in this economy, you're not getting married at 18.
Right. Well, not only that, but our just the way our culture is. It's
that
very
extended
different.
adolescence into
exactly.
your mid 20s, really.
Absolutely. 100%. And so the idea is, you come to us and you say, hey, I've been really, checking out so-and-so, and I want to pursue them. And we say, all right, well, let's sit down and let's talk. And so number one, I want to know, what are your goals personally, professionally, and especially spiritually?
Yeah.
And so that's the first thing that we sit down and ask these people is, who do you want to be personally, professionally, and spiritually? And we go down and we make them, write this out on a paper. And then we say, what are your deal breakers in a relationship? What are the things that you really, if somebody has these qualities or these characteristics or these traits, it's a non-negotiable deal breaker.
Yeah.
And I want you to tell me what your deal breakers are. So go home and think about this. Take as much time as you need. Think about, what are your deal breakers? And then what are the things that you're most looking for in a relationship? What are your deal makers? They have to have A, B, and C. They have to have these, 6 things. These qualities are a must. And I'm not talking about like, they have to be godly.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
That should be a given.
But get specific, right?
Get specific, get real with it, and tell me, what is it that they have. And then what we do is we, through that time period, and we do 3 months of intentional friendship. Through that time period, we say, don't date alone. Don't go on dates by yourselves. Don't get physical, hand holding, hugging, kissing, all that, leave all that, because we're trying to get over the infatuation stage.
Yeah.
We're trying to get through that idea of like, this could be the one.
Right.
Like, let's get past the cloud.
Dopamine cascade. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's get past that cloud, and let's really just find out, is this something that's worth pursuing?
Do you guys in that process, because what the process you're describing is very similar to what we do when we meet with singles and talk about values alignment and values identification. And a lot of times it's the first time people have ever really thought
wow,
hard.
these are a lot deeper than I was expecting.
Yeah.
We're like, dude, we're trying to find you your spouse.
Yeah, but you have to really dig, and it's sometimes it's the first time people have ever given themselves permission to do that.
Yeah.
Do you ever take someone's list and you're like, nah, bro, this isn't it?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
yeah.
You're like, probably
We've-
every time.
Most of the time, as
Yeah.
a matter of fact. Yeah, because like, you know, when we taught or when we teach dating series, you know, your relationship with somebody is more than you like Star Wars.
Right.
And so that's the common ground that you
Wait,
find.
it's got to be more than that?
Yeah. Must sing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it has to be, it has to go a little bit deeper than that.
Must
Yeah.
have a
That
master's.
could be the connection point, and that's fine.
Yeah.
You connected on that level. But now let's go deeper and talk about values.
What's your
let's,
why?
Let's talk about who this person, because, you know, one person can like Star Wars and they're called to be a missionary, and the other person can like Star Wars and they're called to be a Sunday school teacher in their local church.
Yeah.
And who's going to compromise on their calling?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And so this is why we do the, you know, professional, personal, and spiritual.
I just want y'all listeners to know we did not pay them to say this. Like, this is so good.
No, but it's such a. Can you guys just make sure that you're still doing this when my kids are dating? Like, I just need you to
Basically,
not.
we need you to hold office.
Just don't retire
least the
from
next 10
this.
years.
Yeah,
This
I don't know how much longer they're going to allow us to be youth pastors.
The last one retired at 60. So we got
you got plenty of time. You're doing great. But what you're talking about, I mean, if I think that if that had been part of the conversation, and one of the things that I love about this is that it's divorced from shame.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, no shame about wanting to be with someone, no shame about wanting to date someone or being attracted to someone. That's expected. That's a good thing, right?
Yeah.
Let's celebrate that you're attracted to someone of the opposite sex who's in church. Like, praise God.
Amen.
Right? But you have to understand why, and you have to understand what's driving you, and having someone at the age of 21, 25 iterate that maybe for the first time is so powerful for them.
Sure. And that's one of the things that, you know, I joke with the guys all the time, of course, you know, and I say, you know, they'll come back from camp or they'll come back from a service. How many phone numbers did you get? And, you know, I say that jokingly, but then I always have to hold the conversation with them as well. And just I've pulled plenty of guys aside and said, hey, you have to understand that the person that you're talking to right now could potentially be somebody else's future wife.
Oof. Yeah.
So don't take anything that doesn't belong to you.
Yes.
And so
Oh, man.
the idea behind that is, you know, you have to put things into perspective, especially when you're younger. You know, when you're in that 15, 16 age and your hormones are raging, when you're in that 22, 23, 24,
Your
25.
hormones are raging.
and you're just becoming a little bit more desperate.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so, and that's what I tell people, you know, going into a relationship without intentions is like going window shopping without money. You're either going to just build up a desire uncontainably, or you're going to walk out with something that doesn't belong to you.
Yeah.
And so you have to be able to put that into perspective. And this is where the accountability comes into play, because when I'm holding somebody accountable, I'm not holding them accountable to my standard.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm holding them accountable to their standard. This is a standard that they wrote.
Yeah.
This is a standard that they came up with.
You said this
Now,
was important to you.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and we help them with that, of course. You know, we're going to walk them through that process. But at the end of the day, this is something that they can hold on to and say, this is a standard that I've created. And sometimes we've had people come back and the standard has grown. And it's like, you know what? I thought this was going to be okay, but I need this.
Because it's normal to learn about yourself as you're dating. And
100%.
I think there's this whole thing I hear people say of, I just want to date my wife, or I just want to date my husband. And I respect the idea that they don't want to date a ton of people and that they don't want to be flippant about it. I respect that. But I think there is a danger in underselling the fact that human relationships, dating or regular relationships, are intended to sharpen us and teach us. Like, just being a part of the body of Christ, you're chipping stuff off of each other all the time. Dating relationships are no different. And if you are staying accountable, and if you're doing everything in daylight, and you're keeping yourself held to that high standard, it's a beautiful learning experience about what matters to you.
Yeah, and then, you know, one of the other safeties in this process is we tell them, you know, during this 3 months, you're not in a relationship.
Yeah.
And this takes the pressure off of both parties, because at the end of this 3 months, when this whole infatuation cloud starts to lift,
Yeah.
If you need help telling this other person that you don't want to move forward in this relationship, you have accountability partners who are there ready to hold your hand through that process or walk you through that process. And there's an understanding before you've even gone into this that, hey, we're not in an official relationship.
Yeah. And it's not going to be a situationship for a year.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then that's the other thing. We're putting time limits on it.
Yeah.
Because if you can wait 3 months, it's worth the wait. You know what I mean? You're still getting to know the person. And I tell people this all the time. I'm not against relationships. I'm pro relationships. I just want us to do them well.
Yeah.
As good as we can possibly orchestrate these relationships, we want to do that. And so, and I tell the young guys all the time, if you're going to go to a conference and you're going to, want to talk to somebody, that's awesome. But you've got to do it well.
Yeah.
And we're not going to be players, and we're not going to be jumping from girl to girl and talking to girl, and we're talking to 6 different people all at the same time. We're going to take this seriously because we're looking for somebody that's going to help you fulfill your purpose. And we're looking for somebody that's going to help you along the way. And so, and for the girls' sake, on the ladies' side of things, we're trying to protect the hearts of delicate people who need to have also the understanding and the grit and the strength to be able to say, I'm not playing that game.
Yeah.
I know what to look for. And the first, good looking guy that comes along and tries to sweep me off my feet, I can see through all that mess and be able to say, he's not really serious about this.
He doesn't line up with my values.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's the danger, is not having a purpose, not having values set. You kind of change them on the fly when you find someone that's pretty enough or handsome enough that shows up. You're like, you know what? He can fit the mold I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or she can fit the mold I'm looking for. And that's where it can be dangerous.
We wore the same color on Sunday, so it's
Yeah.
meant to be.
And that's why we want to do this exercise with every person that is allowing us to do this. And I want people to understand, like, we're not the parents of these kids, right?
Yeah.
So ultimately the parents are going to do, allow them to do whatever they want to do in their homes. But if people will allow us to, if people will allow us the opportunity to walk alongside them in this process, we feel like it's only going to benefit them, and it's only going to help them. And yes, it may delay it by 3 months. It may delay it by 6, because the other thing we've done is, somebody says, I'm just not sure yet. All right, well, let's go another 2 months. Let's go another 3. Let's go 6 months without talking to anybody.
Yeah.
And so, but that's all the safety that's in accountability.
Yeah.
And so I know you're itching to say some stuff. So if you want to, I have a tendency to hog the microphone when I get on soapboxes.
No,
It's so good.
What I was going to say is, like, because thinking about, like, intentional just personally, because I know you guys were asking earlier too about us, is like, I wish I would have had that as a young adult, as a teenager, with somebody that I could go to, and try to pick somebody that you respect, that's in the church, because there's great people that I work with, funny, but I would never confide in them because they're gonna want to tell me whatever I want to hear, type of thing. But there's just so much safety and accountability in going to somebody that you're not afraid of, and that you can just be completely open and honest with. And the beauty of the intentional friendship is, if you don't like it, like, you can easily walk away.
Yes.
As opposed to the culture now is, like, people may be kissing or whatever on the first date. As soon as they meet them, they think they're in love. Well, in this situation, like, you're not putting your hands on somebody. You're just getting to know them, being fully known before you're fully loved.
It's so, honestly, I don't think this is just a young person model. Like, I think this is a model that, because I mean, we work with people, our oldest clients, I think, are in their mid 70s, which is like a fantastic time of life to date. Yeah. It's good times. But, like, I think that's useful for them, right? Like, in what we say, like, when we match people, we set the expectation of, like, you need to be able to decide in the next 2 months ish is the timeline we give them, whether or not there's viability here for a relationship.
Not that you're committing to marrying them,
No.
but, like, am I curious enough to get to know them more?
And am I seeing enough qualities that match my values that this is worth exploring, and we can start talking about a future? And we say time box it to that, so you don't just have this question mark extending into forever. But even if you're in your 50s or 60s or 70s and you're dating, having someone in your life who is grounded and godly and married or can hold you accountable to the kind of relationship they know you want, I think anyone could benefit from that.
100%.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. And you know, the folks who go through this with us, they don't have to be accountable to us specifically.
Yeah.
And we tell them that, you know, like, we want you to be accountable to somebody, like she said, who you're confident enough in to go to them and share intimate details of your life and say, hey, I'm struggling with this, and so, you know, I want to get into this relationship, but I'm still kind of wrestling with this. Is this okay? Because, you know, we all know the reality is your struggles come with you.
Yeah.
If you're still dealing with struggles, they're going to come with you into the marriage, right? It's not something that goes away just because you got a ring on your finger now.
Yeah.
And so having that accountability,
talk about a lot on the podcast.
yeah, that's great. Having that accountability is so vitally important to be able to, because then that person has the ability to look at you and say, hey, I'm glad that you're thinking in this direction, but let's work on some things before we step into this.
Yes.
You know, next season.
I have this. Maybe this will be kind of like a round out question, because we've talked about we've covered so much stuff here, and I think we've gotten some really good practical advice. We've kind of set up like a sort of a biblical framework for focusing on dating. I want to bring it really personal and talk about our kids. So you guys have 2 kids that are a Sunday school age with my kids, ish, like slightly stair-stepped above. We both have 1 son and 1 daughter that are going to at some point encounter this challenge, right? And we're seeing and working with a lot of singles of different ages that the challenges that our boys are encountering are very different than some of the challenges that our girls are hitting. But all of them are hard, and they're going to get harder as they age. As parents, what are your hopes for your son and your daughter when they get to this age, in terms of how they, like, what's available to them, and how you hope that they'll be kind of thinking and approaching it? Does that make sense?
Yeah. You want to start?
Sure. One, like, just them being around, like, they just seeing the young adults and the teenagers, like, that's just like their exposure constantly. But what I hope that they can learn is their values early on, like knowing like how to, like, our son, he's wild.
He's
just
awesome.
a nice way to put it.
Just to get, like, I'm not gonna like out him, but like I remember as a toddler, he would preach messages in nursery where he wasn't saying words, but he would grab a mic and just like bend over and like scream like he was like delivering a really intense word, and he would just go do that all around the nursery. I just remember him posting up in different places.
Yeah,
it was amazing.
So well, teaching him young, yes, and he does that for sure. But he's into play fighting. I was telling you, like, he's like a monkey type of thing, just jumps at you from anywhere. A spider monkey there. But just being respectful of ladies and like how you talk to them, don't swing at them with your swords or whatever, is teaching them young, but as he gets older, to have that respect for them. And for our daughter to value herself, not to feel desperate or have to like throw herself at anybody, but to know like who God has created her to be. And it's okay to have that knowing. But those are some things that I hope we can instill in them. So like in the future, if the Lord tarries, like they can confidently go into those relationships, but be very respectful of whomever that may be.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately it boils down to, I want them to be so in love with God that they want to be so good for God that they are perfect for the person that God picks for them, and or for the person that God puts in their path. And so training them up just to love the Lord, to love the church, to love ministry, to love serving. You know, we don't have it all together as parents. I think we're much better at being married than we are at being parents sometimes.
Same.
We have a great relationship. I love our relationship, and sometimes I question our parenting.
I feel like that's the point, though. Like, parenting humbles you.
Yeah, for sure.
Because we were on a high horse about how great we were as being married, and then we had kids, and we're like, oh, interesting.
Yeah, for sure. So really just training them up to be godly
Yeah.
Just be as holy and godly as you can be. Just love truth and love righteousness and love being who God called you to be. And if you'll do that, there's a constant self-evaluation that comes with that. Yeah. Not in the negative sense, because a lot of people will confuse that and they'll take that to mean like you're never good enough, or and I don't mean it in that sense. I mean it in the sense of I love God so much, and I love his people, and I love his kingdom so much that I just want to be a better version of myself, so that I can get closer to God. And if they'll do that, then when they're in that phase of saying, I'm ready to find a partner, and it just goes back to what we've talked about this whole time, right? Of being more focused on their purpose than finding a partner and then figuring out what they're trying to do with the rest of their life. If just serve in the kingdom and love God and do your best to get to heaven, and just to be that godly Christian person. And when you look over and there's somebody standing next to you and they're going in the same direction and they're working in the same field, you can look over and say, this is the person that I want to serve in ministry with for the rest of my life. And I just firmly believe that God honors that, and that God will bless that, and that God will help them to find the right person when it comes time. Yeah. I don't know if that's a good answer or not. But
I think it's beautiful. We talk a lot about I love the picture, when we talk about being equally yoked, and I know that like the scripture is like, be not unequally yoked with unbelievers, so I'm not trying to like twist it, but the idea that the opposite of that is equal yoking. Yeah. That's the picture of that is two powerful creatures on the same yoke, moving in the same direction with the same amount of force. You don't yoke a weak animal with a very strong, powerful animal, because you would end up just going in circles in the field. But the idea that you are moving in the same pace, in the same direction, responding to the hand of the master in the same way. Like that's the picture I have in my mind of what marriage should feel like. Like you look over and you're both full throttle in whatever direction God has set you.
Yes. On top of that, though, you could be powerful creatures that are going a direction that you feel like God is leading you. But if those two animals that are yoked to each other are not going the same direction and they're fighting each other, the two that are weaker, that are going the same direction, are going to go further and be more productive than the ones that are stronger going separate, trying to fight each other and go separate directions. So if you're not working together with your partner, if you're not in the same communication, and
well, at that point I think it boils down to who you're letting put the yoke on you.
Yes
And if God is the one that's putting the yoke on you, you're going to be all right. Because he's a lot of times people are like grabbing yokes and they're like forcing a yoke on them, and they're trying to get yoked up or cuddled up next to somebody that they don't need to be cuddled up next to.
And I think the Lord, sometimes I think the thing that gets confusing about this is, as we talk to people, I think there are two ways that people kind of anchor themselves in as they're into the church, as they're transitioning into adulthood. And one is they anchor themselves in through purpose and service and mission. Sometimes they anchor in through family, and it holds them, but it doesn't. That's not a purpose. Strong anchor. It's not their purpose. And we've seen it happen, where you can have a couple of kids, they get married young. They probably didn't make the smartest choice in who they married, but man, they're going to work really hard to preserve that marriage, and God's going to work in them, and God's going to help them and support them, and they're going to build a great kingdom family. To God be the glory. But how much better would it have been had they had the mindset of like, man, what's going to further this mission, and that be the focus, so that when they end up in a marriage, it's not, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with a married couple who needs counseling or support or anything like that. But their investment, instead of rebuilding the foundation that was slapped together at the beginning, their investment can be, where does God want us to go serve, and where is he pointing us? And when we think about the church, like in the end times and the work we have ahead of us, like, man, those are the kind of kingdom families I want working. I want the ones who feel like they are just full throttle in the same direction.
And I've thought, you mentioned it earlier, and I've thought of it because we did a ladies event. I think it was right after COVID. It was probably one of our first events that we did. And Sister Tony wanted me to talk to the single ladies. about Mr. Right, and I thought that was kind of a weird like throwing out there, but it was like a Mr. Right, but not the Mr. Right now type of thing. But I talked about Ruth in that, and coming back down to it is like your relationship with God as an individual has got to be number one. And when Ruth found herself in a desperate situation, like she lost her husband, and like she's like telling Naomi, like, I want your people to be my people and your God my God. And that was before she met Boaz. And God was Boaz was already serving God. He was already there. And so when she kind of submitted to that relationship and serving, like she found herself in the right field, and she surrounded herself with the right people. Boaz even told her, like, don't go to the other fields. It's not safe out there. Like, surround yourself by these particular people. They're going to protect you and make sure that you're provided for. Yeah. And so it just the things that we've talked about just keeps bringing me back to that particular story. Because with Ruth, I don't know how old she is. I don't know if we know biblically like how old she was, but we know that she was married. Yeah. She didn't have kids, but she found herself as a widow, and God redeemed her story. Yeah. And so whether it's your 70-year-olds that you're working with or somebody that's younger, like God can redeem their story. Yes. When he is the primary part of their relationship and their walk.
Yeah. And I want to, like, as we're wrapping, so if you're a single person listening to this and you're like, okay, but I'm one of the ones who's stuck. Yeah. I'm one of the ones who's been running the church behind the scenes. Because if you look at a lot of churches, the people that are making it go are the singles. Yeah. Sure. Like, they're showing up when nobody else can because they don't have the kids to drag around, and they're putting in the time. They're babysitting. Right. They're babysitting for all of the rest of us, you know, and there's this sense, I think, of like, but I've been doing this, and it's not going anywhere. And I want people to, I want to both acknowledge that is a painful place to be in, but also that investment is not in vain, that's not an empty thing that you're pouring into, you know, like, and we can't sit here and go like, oh, here's the timeline that God has for everyone. We can't do that. Even though we try to actively help people find people, we can't prescribe when the timing is going to fall into place and when God's going to bring his plan to fruition in people's lives. And like I said, we don't believe in soulmates, but we do believe that God sets up the dominoes of how people connect and the timing and their growth and development. And if you're listening to this going like, I've been doing it. I've been focused on this for years, and I've been waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. I can't speak to what God's plan is in that, but I know that he has one, and that he doesn't let any of that investment fall by the wayside. It never comes back void from the Lord, you know, however it'll manifest, whether it's in that picture of family or in something different, you know?
Yeah. I would say this to those folks who are in that season. You know, I say this in leadership conversations a lot, but we never do things to be seen, but there are things that we need to be seen doing, right? And so for those folks who are feeling like they're stuck, I would never suggest that you start going and serving in camps and other conferences and all of that so that you can garner attention, but sometimes stretching yourself outside of your comfort zone and going to a different place where you don't feel comfortable being sometimes, and be prayerful about that, because I think, again, a lot of people will just go to the first opportunity that presents itself, but there's been plenty of opportunities that I've said, that's just not it, right? And that's the Holy Ghost just giving discernment and giving the ability to say that's not the right opportunity, but prayerfully ask God and talk, you know, have that conversation with God, be real with God, and say, you know, God, where can I go? Where will you allow me to go to serve so that I might, you know, run into somebody that is, you know, the person for me. But don't be afraid to be seen. And we have this kind of false humility of like, I have to be in the background. And, you know, I kind of poke fun at this because a lot of times you'll offer somebody who's fasting a donut and you're like, hey, you know, here's a treat, and they're like, no, I'm okay. You sure? Here, I got this specific. No, I can't. Well, why can't you? I get. And they're like, it's okay to just say, oh, I'm fasting today. Yeah. But like we have this idea in the back of our head where like we have to do it so secretive and we have to be super unseen, and like just in the background. And I get where that comes from,
Yeah.
and we shouldn't be prideful in doing it. But there's also nothing wrong with just saying, well, I can't have that because I'm fasting today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that's not being prideful. And so the reason why I say that is to say there's nothing wrong with going and serving in a capacity and saying, I'm here because I do desire to meet people.
Yes,
You know,
absolutely.
I do want to run into people. There's nothing, that's not an ill ulterior motive.
We just
Yeah.
talked
You know
about
what I
this
mean?
last week, how we wish there were more paid internship opportunities
Sure.
for like college age students to be able, and like paid is hard on any church's budget, on any, you know, whatever.
Paid is relative.
For sure.
Paid is relative, like
gas
room and board
maybe
coverage,
board.
right? But like for to encourage our churches to swap our young people, like, hey, spend a season serving in this context, spend a season helping plant this work, like give
Or
your
like the or like districts get together like a pool of money that they can send people to help home mission churches in another part of the state.
Sure. Yeah.
So that way you're melting pots of different congregations together to go and serve.
Yeah, because we need the body,
Yeah.
the Big C Church, the full body, not just our congregation, to be sharing our resources, you know, of our
Sure.
people and giving them opportunities just to connect, even if it's not for dating, just to build relationships, because we
Yeah.
need that cohesion.
Yeah. No, and I think that's a great concept. I think that's a great idea. I also see the challenges. of it.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
Logistically,
I poke
nightmare.
holes in all of the things that we've suggested.
Yeah,
So.
you know, for us being in the size church that we're in, and
You're
we're
seeing
still,
like the legalese like running through your mind of like all the waivers that would have to be signed for that to happen.
I'm cringing at all the planning center declines that I would
Yeah.
get.
Yeah.
Accurate.
And
It's all the singles.
but I think that's one of the challenges, right? And so like, how do we set up those opportunities?
Yeah.
And how do we kind of coordinate those? That I think that's something that we can definitely challenge ourselves as leaders in the church to try to come up with ways. And
Yeah.
you know, it's funny, we were doing a Hyphen call that we did a Zoom social just to connect with some of our district Hyphen, and one of the questions was like, you know, are we going to do some things for some of the older Hyphen, the 25 to 30s, and you know, all of the Hyphen events are just, you know, 18 to 20s, or, you know, 18 to 22.
Yeah.
And my comment to that was simply, if everybody who told me that would just show up to an event,
Yes.
we would have a ton
Yeah.
of 25 to 35-year-old
Yeah.
Hyphens at the events.
Yes.
And this goes back to people having convinced themselves that there's nothing out there for me.
Yeah.
And that's why I say, if you'll step out of your comfort zone
Yeah.
and go and even if it's just to serve
Yeah.
and say, hey, maybe it will just be 18 to 22-year-olds.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there won't be a whole bunch of people that are my age, but at least I can go and serve. And you're not doing yourself any disservices.
Mm-hmm.
You're helping the kingdom. You're edifying something. And who knows, you may just run into the one person
Yeah.
who also decided to step out of their comfort zone in that moment. And worst case scenario, that, you know, you've served in the kingdom of God. Best case scenario, you've started a socialization with all of the people who are your age.
Right.
And so that's why I say, stretch yourself. Come out of that comfort zone. Come out of that ideology that nobody my age is going to be there, so I'm not going to go. It's one of the biggest things that we hear all the time. And I'm like, man, if all of those people who are thinking that would just show up,
That's so funny.
we would have so many people there
Yeah.
who are in that age group, and we'd be able to serve and minister to them.
I literally just said the same thing last podcast. I looked at the camera and I challenged the guys, because it's usually, is it pretty weighted, girls to guys, like a lot of girls to like very few guys, and
Sure.
also
Yeah.
and so it's singles conferences are similar too. There's like 90% girls
Yeah.
and 10% guys that stand on the back wall.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I'm like, listen, like, don't take for granted the opportunities that you have available to you. Like, yes, sure, there might be a lot of people younger than you there. Just go.
Yeah.
There's nothing that's going to hurt you.
Right. Right.
Just go.
Yeah.
This is just a random thought, and you can edit this part out. But I was just thinking, like, just our culture and like just with what I do for work, like a lot of the drivenness is to do self-service and to have things at home.
Yeah.
So you can get your groceries delivered, you can have your food delivered, you have the internet, you have the world at your fingertips. I listened to the podcast that you guys talked about with AI relationships.
Yeah.
It's a real thing. And like they're working on robots to clean your house, and so you can have relationships. Yeah. They are a few years out from that. They did say that. But it's
honestly,
pretty
if it
wild.
folds
Like,
closed, I'm good. I'm sold.
yeah. If they can do that, that's great. But I feel like it's put us in this mind frame, and I think COVID kind of set that back a little bit. Is I have all the comforts at home, so things can be delivered to me, relationships can be delivered to me, and it's not comfortable. Like, I'll be honest, like I am definitely like have to be around people and socialize, but I also like being home comfortable.
Yeah.
Preach.
And so sometimes it's hard for me to like have to go, and sometimes like I feel like we're just in a season that we're out of the house every single day, and I have no idea what we're gonna do sometimes. But just getting out is going to be so important. And encourage that. We on our Connect yesterday was talking about creating Bible studies in your city. Yeah. And it really just started when he got back into church with getting with a friend. It was like, we're just going to talk about the Bible and we're going to meet at Starbucks. And that was, I think that really helped also develop our relationship too, because we found out that they were meeting out talking about the Bible, and we were all young adults, and we're like, that's cool. So they started at Starbucks, but when I started joining, they were at Panera, and it grew, and a lot of friendships and relationships came out of that. Yeah. And that's what started our Hyphen ministry in St. Pete, was that's just awesome. Friends getting together talking about the word. And it wasn't like a huge production or anything like that. It was, we love God and we want to know more, and what is God putting on your heart. And so that could be something that can be cultivated in these different places, not to be discouraged if your church is small. Like, go out there and like just meet with one person, a friend, and that may open a door there.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
We're definitely not cutting that.
No, that was solid. She saves the gold for like the last thought. Do you guys have any like stuff you wanted to cover, or questions, or things that we haven't talked about that you want to make sure we chat about as part of this?
Yeah, let me get my notes.
Yeah, just should have prepared.
No, I'm teasing.
Preferably dirt on Brother Tony.
Yeah.
I would like to remain employed at the Pentecostals. No, the reality is
fine, Brother Rios.
No, the reality is we have an amazing pastor.
Yeah, we do.
Leadership team, and I love all of them.
We're blessed, you guys included. Yeah, and I do need you to stay really close to this until my kids are 18. Like, no pressure. I'm just saying, just ride it on out for another
at least 14 more years.
Yeah, it should be fine. Thank you guys for letting us pick your brain.
Oh, thanks for having us. This is fun. We love chatting, so might as well record it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We can do it again whenever you want. I think it's also just cool, I think, to have someone who's seen kind of the bird's eye view of this chapter in a lot of people's lives that's so full of stumbling blocks, and to have kind of a clear path forward. I think it gives people a lot of hope. And I know we have a lot of like youth ministry or Hyphen ministry folks that are listening or involved. We have a lot of married folks that listen and are thinking about this for, people in their community. So there might be something that they can glean from this too that would fit, in their space, or that they could pray about or talk to their leadership about. So we want to share as many of those ideas as we can. Yeah.
I think we just wanted also people to hear the idea of the intentional dating, which I know you're not.
Intentional friendships.
Sorry. Intentional friendships. The other one. Well, it's also intentional dating too. But,
yeah.
I know you're not pastoring all the churches in America, but it's one of those things is we need a framework that helps people get past the butterflies. Sure. And say, you know what is real chemistry? We talk about chemistry being feeling safe, feeling seen, and mutually curious. Sure. And if you're in butterflies the whole time, none of that can actually be established on whether those are true or not. Yeah. And because the whole time you're just thinking about, how can I hold this person's hand? How can I kiss this person? How can I like all your hormones are raging, when really at the end of the day you should be like, hey, what's your views on 401ks? Like, how many kids do you want to have?
Yeah, lead with that on a date, guys. Just ask about the 401k.
Well, no, and that's a good point, right? Because there's two extremes to it.
Oh, totally.
Right? There's the people who are just like, they're all business.
Oh, sure.
And I can be guilty of that. I'm a very just, matter of fact, unfiltered. I'm not even going to look at my wife right now. But I can be very just like down to business and like let's just do what we got to do. And so there's there's multiple sides. The whole idea behind that, the concept that we're putting into place, is to allow for that self-evaluation, and to allow for people to really work on how can I be the best spouse, rather than how can I get the best spouse.
Yes.
And I think that's a lot of our culture right now is like, what do I have to do to get a 10, and you're operating at a 4? And it's like,
preach.
like, and I'm not talking about looks. I'm not talking about like,
No.
I'm talking about just being a good spouse.
Yeah.
And like, we want that elite level, spouse.
Yeah.
And I going back to sports analogies, if I can do that for a minute.
Please do.
I
don't get this very often.
Enjoy it while you can.
You want the Shohei Ohtanis, but you only have a budget for I don't want to throw any shade at any like MLB players, but you have the budget to hire me to play first base.
Yeah, sure.
You do great.
And it would be horrible. It'd be a terrible situation for that team. But the reality is like if you'll put the effort into yourself, and not in the sense of like, all right, I'm ready. I'm I tucked in my shirt. I ironed my clothes. I combed my hair, and I'm ready.
My Axe body spray.
Right. Yeah, please don't wear Axe.
Every year at church camp, it's like it was like the mist of the Lord. It just like
Something.
Always
that
is
is
terrible.
not the glory God I would be a part of. But no, if you'll just focus on, like I said earlier, just fulfilling your purpose in the Lord, and being godly. Just be holy. Be godly. Don't compromise that so that you can get a relationship. Because that's where everything falls apart. And so many people are in that place, in that season, where they are compromising standards, and they are compromising themselves, and they're compromising their callings, all in an effort to get a spouse. And then they get the spouse thinking that now I can crank it back up. But because they've sacrificed all of those things early on, the spouse is not on board with that.
Right.
And so now we're in this limbo. Anyways, I know we got to wrap. But
I just want, the one last thing is, I just want to thank you guys for investing in the young people, youth and Hyphen, because you guys understand the power of compound interest, right? If you teach someone in their 40s what compound interest is, that's nice. And it's going to do some things for them. But if you teach a 15-year-old what compound interest is, it's a very different retirement story. And so what you guys are doing is teaching people way younger than what we were taught on what compound interest is into relationships and investments into themselves.
It's huge.
And that is so, so, so important.
Yeah.
And thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's a daunting task, but we've got a long way to go.
Yeah. We got a lot of work ahead of us,
With God's
folks.
help, we'll do what we can.
Yeah, you guys are doing amazing. Thank you. I just looked at the time. We should probably rescue our babysitter,
Yeah.
who is currently serving by watching our children. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes.
Do we have any announcements?
Nope.
The pipeline is opening back up for ladies in August. Date TBD.
Yeah, we're not sure about the date.
Yeah, if you haven't signed up for the newsletter, go down to the link.
Maybe the earlier side of August?
I'm thinking about doing it on the 1st just because I like that number because it's really concrete in my mind, but I got a lot of stuff to do between now and then. So
if you do want to sign up, we have a waiting list that you can go ahead and get and go to our website and sign up for.
The link's in the description if you are a lady and you're interested. There's no priority to the waiting list. We'll just open it up and we'll send you the information about it. It's just so we have your information to send you that. And you can also sign up for our newsletter. And I think that's it. Cool.
Hey, babe.
Yeah.
I love you.
I love you too. And I love you and appreciate you guys. Thank you for hanging out with us.
Thank you for having
on
us.
This Tuesday evening. Guys, we're podcasting so early in the week. We're going to have so much time to edit. I'm so excited.
We'll still somehow be late.
Yeah. It's going to be great. All right, guys. See you guys later. Bye.
Bye.